All right, we're live. All right, awesome. Welcome everyone to Black Orlando Tech's June monthly Tech Talk. Gonna give a couple of minutes for folks to hop on. And while we're waiting, just encourage everyone to please, go ahead and share this live on Facebook, whatever platform that you're on. Please go ahead and share the live. And then for those who are tuning in, we're going to give a couple of minutes, let folks kind of come on in, and then we'll get started. I should have had some music on. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Black Orlando Tech's monthly Tech Talk for June. Excited to have you join us for what I know will be a great conversation, and looking, definitely forward to the questions that you guys will have and insight that you guys will gain. All right, so Black Orlando Tech is a nonprofit. For those who are new and haven't interacted with us before, Black Orlando Tech is a nonprofit organization committed to accelerating minority economic advancement through workforce, small business, and socioeconomic development by increasing the awareness, activities, network, resources for local minorities who pursue careers or entrepreneurship in technology. Wanted to go over a couple of announcements and upcoming events. For our tech cohorts are our accelerated applied training program, where we train individuals who are participants in a tech skill. The program is done in 3 cycles. The first cycle is an introduction to the tech skill. Second cycle is intermediate. And the third cycle is advanced/certification, where we train you based on the certification that's been identified. And this is a certification that is highly sought after and accepted in the tech industry. We just ended our first cycle, and our second cycle starts the week of July 12th. Registration is currently open. You can find the registration by going to www.blackorlandotech.org and clicking on our programs and clicking down to tech cohorts. You'll find the registration, some additional information. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to link up with us at info@blackorlandotech.org, and we'll be sure to help you out. So again, registration is open. Second cycle starts the week of July 12th. For the Tech Startup Series, our Tech Startup Series is our entrepreneurial development series for tech startups, creative service businesses, any tech-infused business that you have, or an idea that you are business you're looking to launch. Registration is still open. We had our introduction meeting this past Saturday. Just went over the program and what to look forward to. So, still, if you're interested, if you're looking to scale up your business, launch your business, or just even find ways to solidify your business foundation, definitely encourage you to join the Tech Startup Series. It is free. Registration is free and still open until July 9th. Again, if you have any questions about that, please email TSS, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, at blackorlandotech.org, and we'll answer any questions that you have about this program. Program has a lot of events that will be scheduled for it, including our pitch competition and a couple of bot pop-up shops that we'll be having for our creative service businesses that are in the series. And finally, our July monthly Tech Talk. I know a lot of you have been asking about the next time, when we plan to start meeting back in person. Well, the answer to that is in July. So on July 28th, that's the last Wednesday in July, we will be having an in-person, our monthly Tech Talk will be in person at Credo Conduit. What we have lined up is going to be super exciting. I'm not going to share any information right now because we're still ironing it out, but hopefully in the next day or two, we'll have that information out. Again, super excited to have that. Super excited to kind of see everyone in person. We will be following some, just safety guidelines, so everyone's safe. Probably, social distance the chairs and things like that. But definitely looking forward to those who will join us on July 28th for that meeting. All right, I will now pass this over to Josh.
Hey, thank you all. Am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you all once again for joining. Today we have a major special guest joining us today, serial founder, entrepreneur, serial change agent. Today we look forward to asking him about, all your many ventures and missions, including augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, med tech, financial tech, non-fungible tokens, and even more. So with no further ado, give a welcome to Chris Lafayette. So good to have you here, Chris.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Rose. I'm happy to be here with Bot today, and thank you, everyone who's taken time to come spend with us.
Awesome. How's everything going in California?
Everything's going strong. How's everything going out in Orlando? I mean,
it's as we talked about before the broadcast, it's very damp out here right now with all of the rain. But not too bad.
Is Disney World back open?
Yes, it is. It's rain, sleet, snow. I guess they were closed for COVID, but yeah, they're back up and running. I think there's no mask at Disney now too, so really showing that society is really picking back up. So
somebody should go take a picture of Mickey Mouse and make an NFT of that. I think it'll hit.
If they don't get sued right after they take the picture, but I feel like it would happen in real time, like a lawyer would just appear out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, you got it.
So one question we always like to ask, Chris, and I think it's really important to everyone's story, is like, what got you interested in tech? And I guess that open-ended question of like, how did you get in the industry and what got you, excited about this sector?
To take it from the beginning, when I was a kid, I would come home and I'd walk in the door and up the hall, and there was a man that was sitting at a desk with the light on, fixing up and tearing apart and taking down computers. And I'd go to this man and I'd say, "Dad, what's the internet?" Can you tell me what the internet was? And I come home the next day and walk in that same door up the hall, looking at a man sitting at a desk. And I say, "Dad, how does the web work?" And he would tell me what the web works. And from there on, I found my first beginnings of technology. But it wasn't until years down the road that I appreciate the magnitude of having a parent in technology, especially in places where I come from, like East Oakland or Compton or Southeast. Look, Southside Chicago, Detroit, Orlando, Brooklyn, and other places, that you realize just how fortunate you were to have such presence in that environment.
No, that's awesome. You're right that's a very coveted experience that a lot of us don't get to experience. Like I don't feel like I've seen a Black engineer until I was like, a full grown man. So it's great that you had your dad there, someone day in, day out that you could see do that type of work. Very
it's
inspiring.
Valuable. I mean, to be able to have that and to use that part of your base foundation and understanding not just what type of new emerging tech is out there on the consumer market, but to understand really what we call in technology, and you'll appreciate this, Josh, being a tech yourself, is that we'll start to look at it from client side but server side. we'll start to understand really the whole server side of this giant mechanism that's been operating for some time, and all the different elements that abide within this eco habitat that we call technology.
No, that's great. I agree. I think for Bot, just a learning experience from us has just been really dissecting that part of like how the ecosystem came to be and how do we make our presence felt. And this is a great segue because, as you know, Bot mission is to get 10,000 net new minorities into tech by 2025. And I know that you have a flagship program that that we're looking to partner with you on as well, the Black Technology Mentorship Program. So I wanted to hear more of how like why did you start that, what your mission is, and kind of what do you got going there? Because I think it's a big deal, and was really excited reading about it. So
sure. And when I think about it, and to express it to your question, is when I started the Black Technology Mentorship Program a little bit over a year ago, I put a lot of what I was working on, the technology, on hold because I saw an opportunity. From someone that's had the pleasure of traveling not just around across Silicon Valley, but across the United States and throughout the world, and sitting on stages where there weren't really people that looked like me and you, and looking in the audience, and there weren't too many of us out there. And to realize that I did know people that were in technology and other transmetropolitan speaking, other different types of neighborhoods and environments. And I just really saw an opportunity to be able to bridge this world together of when someone like me, when I came to Silicon Valley with black colored skin. And a lot of what I've learned in technology were from people that don't look like me. It don't come from places where I come from. And I said, what would happen if I was able to bring these two worlds together, these hidden heroes and hidden geniuses, and to not just make it a specific black program, but to make it a community program where all cultures and communities were able to come together to bridge, to help serve one another as a mutual bi-directional beneficial program for the mentor and mentee, and just really start looking at mentorship reimagined, completely digital operation. And that's what we built. Shout out to Diane Tucker, our governing director.
That's awesome. And you touched on something that's super important. I think one of the easiest way to learn something deeply is to teach someone else. I know from being like a mentor and then also being a cohort lead in Bot and like in our inaugural cohorts, that it's very fulfilling, especially when you're teaching someone that looks like us, that I think we provide that safe space of like people feel kind of less pressure and more apt to ask questions and stuff,
right.
So.
Right. And that what it does is it leads into opportunity. Sometimes things are worth putting on hold for the benefit of others. What would it be 100%. For us to come in contact with all the technology that you and I have been so afforded the opportunity to gain, and not give that back to underserved communities in some capacity? Because if not us, then who? And it's almost like, and it's a pleasure. But to keep it all the way real with you, we have those that may not be imbued with that type of responsibility to give back in such a capacity, because that's not necessarily the lens from where they come from. And that is what it is, and that's fine. But for where we come from, we just say, as I was always taught, spiritually, give back freely that which was given unto you. So to me, I run with that and say, let me give back to what so many went out of their way to be able to take their time to teach me, and they never really they didn't have to do that, but they did.
100%. I love what you said, and I feel like that's a call to action to all the black technicians that are tuning in or watch this later on. Like, if you're in tech now, like, don't take the money and run. Like, please go back to the community and teach somebody else, for sure.
Yeah, leave the door open. I just see, and I love, and I really appreciate, those that really do something with the gift they give. That they're given, and they do it, and they're doing it in such a way where they're able to reciprocate that which was given. Leave the door open when there's an opportunity, and when you are able to go through it, leave the door open for other people. When you're an entrepreneur, because you're look, owning a startup is emotional.
Yes.
Owning a startup is not easy. So when you find yourself on this pioneering path, and you're sitting here chopping what Ponce de Leon, Lewis and Clark, Sacagawea rolled the dice, sought new land, and landed, though not the same. That's a lot like business. And we're sitting here as entrepreneurs in this time of Industry 4.0, dealing with emerging technologies, and we're cutting and clearing paths, but leave the light on the trail.
Yeah,
So people
100%.
behind you can come that way, because we are pioneers in a lot of things that we're doing in technology today that either A, our predecessors were never afforded the opportunity to do, B, there was not enough democratized resource for them to be able to take advantage of the tools and utility that we're yet able to use today. And then C, for the ones that come before us that have passed the baton, they passed the baton.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something we've tried to do at Bot too is like really get those OGs from tech into like the people that were, you know, that experienced way more disparity than we did, you know, breaking that real new ground. And I think this is a good segue because we were talking about like leaving the door open. Another sector that you're occupying that I think I don't see a lot of people that look like us in as well is healthcare. So what got you like in the like medical tech, and would love to hear your experience there, and like, you know, how did you kind of break into that industry as well?
Because I knew a man named Robert Harris, who is a retired medical physician who's no longer walking around in that particular body, who has left. You know, spiritually, I was taught that and to look at the human body in just a different way than I've ever had before spiritually. And I was really so attracted and drawn into that space to look at how can we better, with the tools and the utilities that we have today, how can we better understand the human body and to see more of it anatomically, you know, internally and externally, to better understand, and how that points up and shows forth things that are spiritual, really. And so I was in an opportunity where I've been able to meet with so many different doctors and people in the healthcare space and medical practitioners and people like Dr. David Axelrod, a pediatrician cardiologist at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital. I was able to spend time with him and really go and explore a virtual human heart, and to be able to ingress into that environment and to explore into a cell and a cell body, and to really understand, and in such a macro level, what exactly is happening within these bodies right beneath our nose. And so to have that experience and to realize that technology could help amplify what researchers and doctors are still practicing to this day, and to be able to help accelerate the development for treatment, and to be able to help contribute to the narrative of surgical theater training and gestural interface surgical development and astral projection surgical training by way of telepresence, where you could teleport one doctor from one end of the world to the other, where she can come and operate on a physician using a convention machine with roboticism at hand. And so there's such a fascination with where we're at when it comes to medical technology, and such a great exploration. And it's one of the few verticals that I really speak to when I'm talking about extended reality, where I look and say that there is often a sufficient amount of deal flow and capital opportunity, unlike most verticals that are out there in the ecosystem.
So in that same vein, for like capital and opportunities, do you have any like anything that you surveyed on what's like stopping more Black entrepreneurs from taking, you know, some market share in that space, or do you have any like you know, feedback or advice on how to get more involved in that space?
I believe that a big part of the plight of the Black community and technology, and this is the keep it real hour. We're going to keep it tall, right? I think part of the big, I'm not going to completely say that they have all the information available to them, afforded to them. But I believe a lot of what keeps Black community down is self-limiting beliefs. And not realizing that they don't have to watch Black Panther and marvel at the technology that's on a Marvel film to know that she or he can actually do it. But we are coming from families where we do not see enough parents in technology that look like us. So what makes us and leads us to believe that we can go do that? But if you come from a family where your dad and your mom flew to the moon, then you will have some more of an iota of confidence that you are also capable of potentially flying to the moon. So 100%. We find ourselves in a situation to where we're looking by observation, but more and more increasingly, we are seeing Black members in technology front facing and to see the things that we've always been able to do. And I'm so excited to talk about in respects to hip hop. As Brother Big said, who would have knew that hip hop would take it this far? It's culturally centric, and I know we'll get to that, but we have to realize that the blueprint is before us. But you have to have the courage, and I understand the wherewithal, but the sacrifice to do it. But a lot of people you'll talk to in particular communities, including the Black community, I can't do it, I can't afford it, I'm struggling. Well, walk in somebody's house and go look at their version of struggling. 50-inch, 55-inch screen TV, Netflix, and all that. So that's your version of struggling. But go talk to our elders and our predecessors on what sacrifice looks like. And a lot of our generation have no idea the magnitude of when they talk about sacrifice and we talk about sacrifice. That's such a dichotomy difference in two totally different worlds that we really haven't even appreciated to an appreciable amount what that looks like, what 100%. That smells like, Josh.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very great answer. And I
Does
think
that make sense when I say that? Though?
Yeah, 100%.
You start to think about the opportunities that we have before us. This is where courage comes in. It says, I'm going to take the opportunity to step onto the pioneer path because I am afforded tools that my predecessors were never given, and I can afford these tools. So what will you do with the time that's given in business, and how will you take advantage of it? The blueprint is here. There's now more organizations that you can shake a stick at that are at least help point you in the right direction towards getting to where you. So there's really no excuse. So how do we do it? Courage, reducing self-limiting beliefs, open-mindedness, vulnerability, a disposition of vulnerability, and knowing that we can actually take these steps to be able to move forward as such and go with grace.
And that's why this is important too, because I'm a product of one invite. Like, one Black man in tech said, hey, you should come to this meetup, and now we're here. The rest is history. So I 100% agree with you.
It is just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be Socratic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a long algorithm to figure out how to be able to ingress into technology somehow, somewhere. Everyone else seems to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people that don't look like us, that don't come from silver spoon beginnings. When I came to Silicon Valley, living out of a 5.0 Mustang, out of my car, sleeping on hacker spaces, hotels, and someone else's sofa, going outside, taking it as much as I can, becoming a student, learning by way of osmosis, sleeping and living out of parking lots, bathing out of hotel bathrooms when I couldn't afford a gym membership, and sleeping out and bathing inside the YMCA and 24-hour fitness, doing what I can, grateful that I had at least a roof over my head, even if it was a car roof and a car seat to be able to sleep in. I was well taken care of and well fed. I'm so grateful spiritually so that I was able to be able to sustain that. But I'm saying that to say I wasn't the only one living like that.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Silicon Valley and other places, transmetropolitan, you have a lot of people that are willing to sacrifice to do where she or he has to be able to move forward and to say, let me take this a little bit further than those that come before me were able to do. If you really want it and really about that life.
No, yeah. And I came from a similar situation where we had lost it all, and through Starbucks Wi-Fi, here we are, so right. I agree that it's one of and I think for this industry, there's a lower barrier to entry than most. Like if you wanted to be a doctor, there's, 20 gates, but if you want to be able to build websites or software, you can get on YouTube right now and, sure. use a bunch of free resources and get going. So
believe it or not, and to that point, some of the greatest technology that you and I yet use today, and some of the greatest technology and assets that have been acquisition, people didn't go to college to learn that. They open up a book, saw it in a video, and are self-taught. But you and I would never know. I know some of the most brilliant minds I've ever come to know in technology. They weren't getting a college education. And some I know to this that have done really well for themselves, But they use the tools that you can't go to college to get. Ingenuity.
100%. You can't teach that. Yeah.
You can't teach that. Hopefully that's maybe part of your in someone's pedigree to be able to do that.
So I have a question on that. I think we're one of the barriers or one of the things we're trying to help reshape the market with is like how hiring is based on, because it's based off kind of an old paradigm of like we need a computer science student, but if we go at that pace, we're never going to fill the tech deficit. So I would love to hear your feedback on like how do you think it's starting to change more in Silicon Valley where they're willing to take on like I guess less traditional backgrounds because we need the help, and if we're going to wait for 4 years degrees to do it, then we're never going to get the people we need.
On the career front, I'm going to say, and like we said, this is to keep it real hour.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley has a culture problem.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. Look, I have incredible relationships on the Google campus, Apple campus, Facebook, Oculus, but they have a culture problem, and believe it or not, they are working on it. I'll give them that. Microsoft, they are working on it. But if we are continually to wait for them to sort out their bias, if we are waiting for them to get it together and not hacking our own minds and opportunities,
We'll be waiting forever. Yeah.
what does that say about us?
Yeah.
So in other words, sometimes we have to get up, roll sleeve, lunch pail, and chop wood and go build it our own. I've said this before, and I do mean I'm no longer satisfied with people that look like us just getting jobs at Google or Apple. I'll be more satisfied in the business narrative with people that look like you and I create the next Google and Apple. Not that it's not admirable, but somebody would be able to work
Love
there.
it.
It absolutely
Yeah, agree.
is. It's a milestone.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that work. But if we are waiting and going from company to company to company, sometimes at what point are you going to stop to consider maybe, just maybe, I have to build my own in this new world of tech where we have utility available like we've never had before? Sometimes we have to consider that the better way to go is for us to be able to build that way.
100%. And as you know from our tech startup series, that's what we're looking to do is whether you're at your small ideation phase and you just have a raw idea on the napkin to I just need money, we're looking to hopefully empower a lot more Black entrepreneurs to really dominate this space because we're some of the most creative, novel people that can definitely build the next Google or Microsoft. So,
but in turn, we have to have respectfully our Black platforms that are for helping people help people.
Yeah.
Don't get a few $1 million and let me know that your cohorts are still struggling.
Yeah.
That would
100%.
never happen with my cohorts, with people that we build with and that I tribe with. That will never happen. When we chop wood, we chop together. We 100%. Have to look out. We have to make sure that these programs are working. And I just think it's tremendous what I'm seeing coming from the Black Orlando Tech platform and exercising that.
No, 100%. I'm glad that we'll have you as like an accountability partner as we grow, but we definitely plan on keeping it as grassroots as we've been. And that's the only reason we've grown. We say bot as a family, and that's the truth. Like we're here to actually inflict change instead of just making our organization big for no reason. And I know you dropped a great hip hop line from Biggie. So obviously we got to segue to probably like the thing I'm most excited about talking to you about is your latest venture in the NFT space. So I would love for you to talk about kind of what you're doing there and how you're empowering Black artists and Black creatives in the cryptocurrency NFT space.
We're very excited to have the opportunity to have launched and thus far successful so far. The first contributor in the first platform in NFT for hip hop. When we surveyed the land and listened to the landscape and me and my business partners, we took a look and saw what was out there. And what we saw were that hip hop assets and non-fungible token assets, they had different sections on platforms like OpenSea or Mentable and other platforms. And we said to ourselves, hip hop doesn't deserve a section. Hip hop deserves its own platform.
Agreed.
And as someone that's been studying culture and looking at culture and the marriage of culture and technology, first of all, there's a few things we need to get straight. And I'd like to get some of that stuff straight right now, is that I know that a lot of people look at technology and culture as two different. Culture is technology. And when you start to look at ecosystems, we're often talking about hardware and software as ecosystems. It is a set of keyboards and hardware and software. Ecosystems are people. And if you look at technology itself, technology is a derivative from art. And art comes from culture. And culture natively is coming from people. And so all the
100%.
different things and what you are seeing, tangible and intangible, the devices, the desktop, the laptops, the tablets, the VR headset, the software that you're interfacing in, and hyper realistic, immersive, simulated environments, ingress and egress, and all the things you see and can't see, and all the different types of haptic feedbacks and physiohaptics and things that you interact with client side, server side, all that you see and don't see in tech, all that is happening, that is coming from people, if you will, that had the creativity or the palette to be able to build these UI, UX interfaces. So when we talk about the subject of culture, hip hop is the universal language of all cultures.
100%. Yeah.
So it's time for hip hop has come from a very far place in the East Coast, native to its beginning, and some would even take it further to the beat of the drum in Africa. But when you bring hip hop, what it is from the 80s, we saw a transition of 80s hip hop, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, the beginning of Digital Underground. Then we see it come and leap onto the table in the 90s. Dr. Dre's The Chronic, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, Diddy, Sean Carter, No More Big Willie, My Game Is Grown, Prefer You Call Me William, Jay-Z. When we start talking about these different artists that have come to the table and all the different artistry, the Outkast and Mobb Deep and Gangstar and Guru, all these different types of MCs that we can go further. When you start to see more and more of them come out, I mean, the purity between 92 and 97, golden era, open up a tape, hip hop, open up a CD, read the credits, the shout outs, all that is culture. When we start to look further, people like DMX and people like Nas, and Nas is all the way back there, Illmatic. And we go further, and people like E40. And then you start looking beyond, Snoop Dogg and Nate Dogg, the Dog Pound, all these different MCs that are coming out that have really made they are rap. Queen Latifah, they are this. But then you come into the 2000s, and you get someone like Eminem that shifted the game again. Eminem is one of the greatest contributors to hip hop there's ever been.
Certainly,
and
yeah.
he breathed a lot of life, if I could put it like that, into the game. And so we saw just this transition. But think about it. Eminem comes on the scene. That's a whole nother culture of people that opened up. Yeah, there was Third Base. Yes, there was Beastie Boys, but they weren't Eminem. But you're bringing in a whole new breath. But now we're talking about South American hip hop, Southeast Asian hip hop, B-boys, breakdancers, DJs all around the world, all that spawning from this hip hop, and it's growing. And then you take Jay-Z, who's saying, "Look, I'm an MC, but I'm also a businessman. Look, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman."
Yeah.
So now he's a business, and he's taking it to this. But now all of a sudden, what we're seeing is, where is hip hop growing to now? It's bigger than Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Right? So now what we look at ecologically operating inside of environment, now since we're dealing with this eco-culture, human characteristics that are permeated in and throughout technological ecosystems, now we see hip-hop inducing itself into a polycultural development ecosystem evolving within the technology itself of the greater eco-habitat. So it's no longer just artificial intelligence with machine learning and deep learning, virtual reality, augmented reality, which is atop of extended reality and roboticism and androids and mechs and smart assistants and IoT and digital twins. All these abide within the eco. We already know that, and they're scaling right now. Industry 4.0 merging together with the merge pairing, creating the fundamental construct of the smart city on a Morpheus scale. We really don't know completely what that smart city will be like. We know where it's heading from what we can see. Here's the point. Their technological convergence. Now we're seeing things come together, and now is the time where you add in the ingredient of culture. There's only two technologies in the greater ecohabitat that influence every other technology. That's artificial intelligence and culture. But now, and because artificial intelligence is coming from intelligentsia itself. And so naturally, it should be able to operate within that environment. But when we start to talk about culture itself, adapting into these technologies, now what we're really getting is, okay, hip hop is more definitive than just culture. Hip hop is much more than just music. Hip hop
100%.
isn't just music, it's a way of life. So now all of a sudden we're bringing that in, and now we've created a platform, Joshua, where we said, what would be the best way as our 1.0 version to introduce financial tech in this exploding market of NFTs, DeFi, crypto assets, Bitcoin, Dogecoin? What would be the one type of thing that can bring all cultures, not just Black culture, all cultures together to be able to merge with this technology to educate, to be able to flex, to showcase, and to be able to monetize? And that platform is Hip Hop Coins. 1.0 Hip Hop Coins is an NFT-based platform that will tell you and teach you more about cryptocurrency assets, DeFi, smart contracts, so forth and so on. But on a amorphous scale, now we're heading to where all the technology is heading, which is the metaverse, which is the next internet. Remember, technology moves in shifts, increments, shifts, and leaps. Increments, the update to my iPhone, that's a new increment. A shift, the iPad just came out. But a leap, cloud, internet.
Yeah.
Metaverse.
Yeah.
And what we're building is, not only did we launch the first hip-hop centric platform for financial and FinTech, but we're also building the first hip-hop centric proto-metaverse. We've already started and contributed to the game, because when we think about the preservation of hip-hop, part of the ones that come before us, Queen Latifah, Kool Moe Dee, Hammer, Heavy D, Guru from Gangstar, Scarface, Jay-Z, not just the ones that have passed, Pop, Big, DJ Quick. Now we're able to take that and preserve that. And you mean I can take assets of images and design, and I can go and sell that so people can have held memories with unique assets, and people are willing to pay for that?
That's why I'm excited, because I've always been excited about NFTs, because especially in the hip hop context, because it's bringing purity back. It's like if you could have like one of Run DMC's like turntable needles, it's like you'll have something of that much value that no one else will have, and it'll be something that will be immutable. Whereas like, you know, stuff from Black history has been like destroyed, tarnished, tucked away, hidden. This will be like basically a new frontier where everything we make will be unchangeable, you know, and be owned by us. So pretty awesome.
And they'll be owned not only by members of the Black community, but all communities. You know, the metaverse allows us to be able to explore each other's culture. How rich would that be for people to better understand who we are, but for us to be able to reciprocate to better understand natively who they are? I mean, one day we'll have this conversation in human on resolution, haptic feedback handshakes, and we'll be sitting down in environments that are almost indiscernible to the human eye as to whether it's real or not. I've seen more technology in a virtual sense on such a resolution that most people wouldn't believe. And when we start to look at the opportunities, and I see the questions would be on Coinbase, a lot of what we're building will be on Coinbase. But when we start talking about it, will Coinbase be with us? Will Bitsky be with us? You know, OpenSea, you know, the industry in NFT, for those that want to hear more about NFTs, look, the industry, there's a big bubble that's happened this year, and it's popped some, but it's still banging. But what happens is that industries like NFT and the FinTech subvertical of the NFTs are beginning to verticalize. That means people, we already, look, the case study is done. NFTs are hot. NFTs are here and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And people are creating it on the artistry side of things. They're creating real estate. So it's not just NFT isn't an art, it's a mechanism, it's a vehicle, it's a platform itself. But what happens is that now that we're looking at NFTs, now it's going to be able to be better served when people start to develop their own centric cultures that are based and wrapped around NFTs.
100%.
Because when you go to OpenSea, it is truly an open sea.
Yeah,
and it's so hard
vast
to find discoverability, and it's just like the open sea. And it's like, no disrespect, but it's the open sea. And there's so much out there horizontally. People want to go to vertical happenings. It's like going to a restaurant with 250 tables in there and 80 items on the menu. Yeah, some people like that. Me personally, I prefer to go to a restaurant where there's about 10 items on the menu, a few tables in there. I could get down on that for making better decisions, and I get a better sense quickly on what I'd like to be served and what I'd like to be able to partake in that dining experience. That's a lot like what we're seeing with NFTs. They're going to verticalize. They're verticalizing, and now you're going to see football NFTs, basketball NFTs, crypto punk NFTs, hip hop head NFTs on hiphopcoins.com. You're going to start seeing music NFTs. Musicians are already exploring this. You can take an old Queen Latifah Black Rain album cover and go and create that and mint that on a blockchain. Now that's a whole different discussion in and of itself. Are you going to go with Tezos? Are you going to go with ETH? Are you going to use your Ethereum? Are you going to what are you going to use now? Because there's multiple chains, and I'm getting a lot of questions on that. How will I know that my NFT is solidified and secured?
Yeah,
if
we'll
I
stand
buy
the
it
test
on
of time.
Ethereum. So here's some of the obstacles. Not even to mention proof of stake, proof of work. Starting to look at the environmental condition and issues on that. But I'll stop for now.
Yeah, because that's its own rabbit hole. I think we have another question around the lifespan of NFTs. I think that's a good question if you want to answer that, Chris.
So when we start talking about the lifespan of NFTs are here to stay. Why? Because what you're doing is you're taking a technology called blockchain, and it's a ledger to be able to record your transactions. And it's a decentralized platform, so it's not centralized, it's decentralized, meaning that many people have access to these records that are stored on their hard drives. And it solidifies the transaction to the date, to what happened, to the amount. And when you think about an NFT, when an NFT sells, and here's what really expressly answers that question, CJ Battle, shout out. When you think about an NFT, me as a native artist, if I want to sell my tapestry and I create an NFT, a digital version of my tapestry behind me, and I go sell it to someone else, that person in 5 years from now, she can go out and sell this same tapestry, and I still get financial kickback on that.
Yeah.
So there's legacy commission that comes with that retroactively. So it can go exchange the hand of 100 people, but at the end of the day, natively, the person that kicked it off, the one that minted that NFT on blockchain, meaning when they mint it, they cement it, and they sealed the deal, they actually are ones that are able to get credit, and the person that sold it for whatever amount. So what started as a $5 transition today could very well turn into a $50 million transition 20 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now. I mean, think about it. Is LeBron James having a picture of him getting and doing a slam dunk sells for over $200,000? But there's a market. Never have we had it. What's happened is NFTs have commoditized culture. That means we're not just selling and taking pictures of pizzas on Facebook. We're able to take the things that we care about and find value in them and buy them, and at the same time take the things that we have designed and constructed, we have filmed, captured, and we're able to say this means something to me, and there's a market of people that it means something for them. Put that and get that minted. Go to hiphopcoins.com, find out more information about the process. Get your wallet, get your MetaMask, get your Coinbase, get your Trust, get your wallet, and you're able to say, okay, now that I have a wallet, because a lot of people don't know what this technology is, Josh. And we have to be the ones to teach them. Hip Hop Coins is an educational platform as well. And so you're able to take this, and now you're able to put that to market. Now, Once that person buys that asset, the question remains is, for some, what do I do with it now? Do I just leave it in my digital wallet? Depends on what you got. Because now, just last week, somebody spent over $900,000 in an app called Decentraland buying virtual real estate. Here comes the virtual worlds.
Yeah.
Now I can put my NFT of a sofa that I bought, a one-of-a-kind vintage sofa, and I could put it in my virtual house where people will congregate. I don't know if people are going to be, you're on Zoom, you're on YouTube. People will be in virtual reality. People will be using augmented reality. Let's make sure we get this straight. The intentions of extended reality, the intentions of technology was never to sit and stare and look at our screens. That wasn't the intention of of native developers when it came to this technology. The intention is for us to be able to get into our screens and operate into simulated environments. That's been the intention all along. And the only reason we haven't built that completely is because we haven't had enough power to be able to do it. But now when you go from 3G to 4G to 5G, the greater the accessibility and the more power is contributed to the market, the greater the technology capability will be. So there's a lot of technology that's sitting on the shelf now that's ready to go 5 years from now, but there's not enough power, colloquially speaking, on the consumer and market index for people to fully take advantage of. So why bring it to market? But there's powerful AI that's ready today.
Yeah,
so
the world just isn't ready
NFTs,
for it yet. Yeah.
Expect your NFTs to go with you to your virtual space. Or as an analogy that I liked when I heard it is, if I bought a virtual yellow dog and I've got my augmented reality glasses on and I'm sitting in my living room or going for a walk in the park, that virtual dog is with me. And when I go put on a virtual headset, and when you put on this virtual headset, that same yellow dog is with me. That means it goes from one transition of a landscape to another transition of a landscape, and my assets stay where I go. Artifacts, assets, art, sofas, lightsabers, all the things that I buy in there. I want a purple and pink lightsaber that's a non-fungible lightsaber, and I'm the only one that owns a perfect purple and pink lightsaber that's already been solidified in Ethereum that's mine, and no one else has it. This is the only one that holds value to me, and it may hold value to others.
Love it. And I think it'll be interesting too, just how I think it's going to give a new creative boom. And we're already seeing it with basically strictly NFT artists, selling art for millions of dollars already. I think it's just going to really expand what we can do. Because unlike a Picasso, you might not know how many times it changed hands, where if you sell, an NFT art, we have a record of that forever. And I see we do have another question around NFTs, around where it was minted. So the question is, doesn't it matter which blockchain the NFT was mined? So if you or someone minted in some random blockchain, it can become useless. So I guess they're asking about the origin of it being minted. Will it affect its value down the line? But I think that's something you touched on. But
sure, and I see Elijah Claus. Shout out to Elijah. Yeah, it does matter, because here's the deal. And I'm not gonna and let me put this disclaimer out there. This isn't Chris Lafayette giving you financial advice. This is just from my lens perspective. If you're going to create an NFT and have it minted, because there are many blockchains that are showing up, they're on the scene now, and there's more to come. Unless it's either Ethereum or perhaps Tezos, maybe Cardano, maybe, I'm not going to get it minted on anyone else's blockchain until they can prove to me that they had the bandwidth and capital and the wherewithal to stay with survivability in the markets. This is why Ethereum is so hot. Ethereum is so hot because it's the one where the people have decided how they want to be sold. The people have decided which one that they want to get down with. And Ethereum is there. There's no one to the money, there's no one even close to Ethereum. To the money. To the opportunity, oh, they're right behind Ethereum. But to the money right now, the gas that it takes me to fuel that minting process, there's no one that's touching Ethereum right now today. But there are those who are close with capability. You've got some powerhouses out there. Now, when you think about what's the safer way to go, these blockchains do communicate with one another, and they do go about their diligence to see if someone is trying to play the system and play the game. You know, there's a lot that's operating within proof of stake that some people are starting to feel maybe it's a little safer and more environmentally friendly when it comes to proof of stake versus proof of work. But proof of work is just more tried and tested when it comes to Ethereum. Ethereum keeps saying, we're going to go proof of stake. We're going to proof of stake. But they haven't yet. And it seems like they keep pushing that date down the line, down the road, because they know it's very difficult to change proof of work to proof of stake based on a successful model. So a lot of people are saying, well, why don't, instead of trying to make it environmentally friendly and collapse the process, just start investing in more renewable energies and better technology that won't suck up so much energy to be able to go through this process. And I think Elijah also asked, should we commoditize culture? Will this lead to greater levels of consumerism and wealth inequality against those who don't have the access to partake? Just want to assess the risk. We've already commoditized culture. And one of the things we have to ask ourselves is commoditizing culture on what medium and in what manifestation. If we talk about commoditizing culture, we commoditized culture in the 80s and the 90s with hip hop. If we're talking about commoditizing culture contemporary at our time under the subject matter of NFT and FinTech, that's exactly what's happening today. And that is the reason why we're seeing such a boom. We go back to first principles of what Simon Sinek has taught us. People don't buy people don't buy products and services, they buy culture. I'll say that again. People don't buy products and services, they buy culture. And the reason that NFTs are beginning to bang, the reason that we see Dogecoin is because you have culture contributors that are out there that are speaking for the technology itself, and people are running to that. People didn't run when the technology was out there, but someone that vouched for it, that has the culture contribution and the wherewithal and a trust factor with his or her tribe, went out there and said, I'm all about that life. And so now you got other millions and billions of people that are suddenly all about that life. So when Jay-Z comes out with Reasonable Doubt NFT drop, and the more and more people get to see that media, they're seeing that, they're becoming all about that life. Shout out to Jigga. When you start talking about Jim Jones and the Capo coin, shout out to Jim Jones. When you start talking about all these other MCs that are out there that are dropping and putting stuff out there, even Gronkowski and football players are putting things out. So when they continue to drop more and more, people that follow them and that appreciate that and have a trust factor, just like when they go do a sleep number bet, Dak Prescott, I'm going to go buy a sleep number bed because number 4 is in there rocking a sleep number bed. So what happens is you're going to go do it. So to answer, and that's a really good question, Elijah, about commoditizing culture. That's an appropriate question. And we just don't have enough young people, especially those that look like us, frankly, or hip hop culture that are asking these type of questions. But Elijah is different like that. Elijah's had a lot of background and exposure to technologies. Elijah is a technologist, so he's going to ask that. But how does Elijah mobilize it? What platform do we use to be able to influence 1,000, 100,000 more Elijahs, as opposed to just saying, I'm putting an NFT out there? But everyone has a role to play. Jay-Z's contribution, Jay-Z's not a technologist like that. He's a businessman, and he surrounds himself with technologists. But for him to put an NFT out there, that's his influence to the game. What I felt, I am a technologist, but I said, how do I reach to the masses? Because I don't have that hip-hop audience like Jay-Z, but I do have a technology audience and people that want to say, hey, what's new in tech? This is what's new in tech, and this is how we're presenting it, to where it's a lot to unpack, but it's just like when someone creates the sweetness to a medicine that's hard to take. In other words, take it with this. This will be good stuff. You'll appreciate this in the long run. You can thank us later or never, but we think that you'll enjoy the tour of experience with Hip Hop Coins. Hope that everybody takes the time to come join us.
Yeah, we look forward to it. I know for sure I'm going to look to get involved just on a personal level and on a nerd level. I think this is going to be a revolutionary product for sure. And I know we're getting close to the end of time, so I did want to end with one final question. I guess I know we talked about hip hop coins. What are some other things we can look out for you from in the future? How can people keep up with you? Things of that nature. How do we just stick with you after this talk?
The biggest thing that you'll see coming from the Hip Hop Coins camp this year is you'll begin to see the beginnings of our proto metaverse that we're going to launch now soon. We're almost done with launching our marketplace here within days that we're putting it out there so people can flex their NFTs, showcase what they have, that people can find hip hop culture NFTs. And then we just keep reaching out to the people, and we hope that we continue to have more artists that are slowly but surely joining us in now that they know that there's a home for them to come to when it comes to hip hop. And we would just implore everybody out there to come take a look at Hip Hop Coins. You don't have to spend money with us. You can even open a free account if you have dope art that you want to flex and put it out there. Shout out to Gary V. I know Gary V's got some things coming out there that I think could be hip hop centric. So we invite you to come rock with us. And so when we start to look at what we're doing with the technology itself, we want people to celebrate this community and this opportunity. And it's a platform
100%.
for us. And when I say us, it's a platform for hip hop culture, which is everyone.
Amazing. Man, we got a lot out of this, Chris, and we thank you for being part of our broadcast. And Bot as a leadership team, we're gonna definitely look to partner with you on in many areas. But just thank you for coming on and really just blessing us with some really great information in a lot of different areas. So
I hope that people would embrace Bot as they embrace the things that we talk about in technology and embrace the hard work that you're doing, Joshua, Miss Rose, and Tiffany, and Kelda, and everyone else that's part of that organization that are really holding it down in Florida and doing the work that y'all are doing. I hope that people that are listening would embrace the Black Orlando Tech Platform. A special shout out, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to spend with you.
Likewise, brother, and look forward to just gaining more of a relationship with you. Thank you all for attending as always. We look forward to seeing you guys in person next month. And of course, with your comfortability, we'll be happy to hug some of you, whoever is comfortable with that. But it's been a long time coming. I'm glad it's safe for us to gather, and everyone have a great night and great rest of the week. And we will see you guys soon. So,
Peace. Thank you.
All right.